There are two things in this country which are unfortunately really true. One is everything is too expensive, and the other is nothing works. And that's the picture of our public services, and I think that's why people feel so frustrated. And everything that you can see in politics, whether it's the Tories' collapse last year, the fact that this Labour government polls worse than a cold sore, that people are flocking to reform, that the Greens are racing up the polls, it's because of these two facts. Everything is too expensive and nothing works. And taxation is a part of that, but I'm going to come to that in a second. The first thing I actually want to talk about is where we're paying too much money. So £200 billion of our money has been paid out to shareholders for privatised utilities like rail and mail and energy and buses and stuff of that nature. That's money that could have gone into reducing customers' bills or investing in infrastructure. It hasn't. It's gone out in the form of shareholder profit. Or if you look at social care, which is really the monster under the bed whenever you look at any local authority's budget, the role of private equity is disgusting. So nearly a quarter of foster placements and children's residential homes are run by companies backed by private equity, and they're looking for profit margins of about 20% or more. So it's hugely expensive for local authorities, and that money isn't going into workers' wages, it's going into private equity. So the first thing we need to do is admit that privatisation has been a failed experiment, it has cost this country dearly, and it is an experiment that needs to end. The second thing that I want to talk about is where actually the tax burden needs to shift. So, Gordon, you were the one who raised the question first, right? Can I ask you a personal question? Are you a billionaire?
No.
Then you're probably paying enough tax. So there are 50 families in the UK who have more wealth than 50% of this country combined. And half of billionaire wealth comes from inheritance, it comes from hoarding property, and it comes from finance. So we're not talking about businesses that employ people, we're not talking about socially productive uses of capital, we're talking about hoarding things. And it means that, as the lady in the front row was talking about, ordinary workers, but also small to medium businesses, are getting muscled out. And then they're the ones who've been hit with things like the increase in national insurance contributions from employers.
But Ash, some of those billionaires will be companies, will be people who start up their own companies. There are some notable British people who've done that and made a small fortune doing it and employ lots of people.
Ash, what about them leaving the country?
So,
they're quite mobile, these rich
Matthew,
people.
I knew you were going to say that, and believe me, I have a response for you. So the first thing is that when you have a tendency towards monopoly, so fewer companies and they're bigger companies, they're kind of job eradicators because they're muscling those small to medium companies out of the way. The second thing is, will those billionaires leave? Some will, but where much of the bulk of this wealth is being hoarded in the form of property, they can't take the buildings with them. And so, God forbid, ordinary families get to buy some of those houses and they don't have to compete with billionaires anymore. It's billionaire
I suppose if it's the property I'm thinking of in London, most people couldn't afford it. But